Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you're all here for the Connect Carolina sneak peek for student admin. If I can get my slides to where, there we go. Okay. So a little bit about today's webinar. So we've got a team of people in the room. I'm Jackie Treschel. I'm on the Connect Carolina Change Management team, and I'm going to be presenting the content today, but I know you're going to have some questions that I am not going to be able to answer. So Julie Dawkins, the Student Admin Projects Manager, is in here with us as well, and she'll be answering your questions. Hi, Julie.
Hi, everybody.
And then moderating the webinar is Rebecca Jones from the Connect Carolina Change Management team. So she's going to be monitoring the chat box, so if you have questions and whatnot as we go. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Jackie.
All right, so speaking of the chat box, let's talk about the format for today's webinar. So we do have a presentation. It's about 30 minutes or so of information to share with you. And it says here that it's followed by question and answer, but we have the chat window that's available for you to ask a question. And if you want to ask questions during the presentation, we'll stop at the end of each section and just make sure there are no questions. We found it's a lot easier to answer the questions in context to when they're asked rather than saving them to the end of the presentation. And if you have to jump off for whatever reason, or if you have coworkers that aren't able to join us, by tomorrow we'll post this recording of this webinar on CC Info. So that's ccinfo.unc.edu. And we've got some pages on there specific to the makeover that you'll be able to get to. So let's go ahead and jump in. The topics for today, we're going to talk about the benefits of the makeover, why we're making the change, and when, all the important stuff. We're going to take a look at the home pages and how to get around. And if this is the first you're really hearing about the makeover, you're probably like, what home pages and what are you talking about? I will explain all of that to you. And then we're going to look at some of the student admin pages and show you some of the differences that are coming, and then we'll wrap it up and take any final questions at the end. So if there are no questions before we get started, we'll talk about what's getting ready to happen. So Connect Carolina is getting a makeover, and the look is more. It's more what? It's more modern, so it has an updated tile-based look, so it's more like your smartphone if you have one. And so there'll be tiles that you can get to different places on the in the system. And it is more efficient. So the research from different users shows that there's a 72% fewer clicks for some of the pages that you're trying to get to using this new look. And it is more flexible. So there are, so this says 5. There are actually 4 ways to reach pages that, that you need to get to. There is a 5th way that'll be coming later. So just, we'll talk about what those ways are coming up here in a minute. And it's more intuitive. So because it does work a little more like your smartphone, if you're like me, when Connect Carolina went live here at the university, I had no experience with it, and it was quite a learning curve to get started using the system. The new look, actually, it's a lot easier. You know, the tiles make sense. The page names are there for you to see. It just makes a little bit more sense, and it's a little more intuitive to use. And the most used features are easily available as well. And then finally, it is more accessible. So one of the things you'll notice as we're going through this is that the information on the pages is a little bit larger, fields are a little bit more spread out. That just makes it easier to use. And so why are we doing this? So part of the reason is that it paves the way for a better experience on mobile devices, and that's going to be especially true for students. We have more changes that are coming in a second phase, which will allow students to do things like register for classes on their phone instead of having to, scroll so much across there or to be on a desktop computer to do that. And then the second reason is that the software that drives Connect Carolina, which is PeopleSoft, is moving away from where we currently are And in order to be able to stay current and take advantage of new features and new pages, and also to receive support, we have to be on their more current version. So we have to move with them and change. So this is, ultimately it'll give a better experience university-wide. So we really are doing this because we need to keep up and make these changes. So when are we doing this? Hopefully you've heard this. This isn't the first time you're hearing this because we are already in May. It's kind of crazy that we're here already, but 2 weeks from tomorrow, May 17th, the system will go down at 5 o'clock and it will be down through the weekend. The new look will be live and ready on Monday, May 20th. So one thing to keep in mind is for any of you that have summer school responsibilities, census is happening on Friday, May 17th for summer session 1 and for Maymester. That will still happen. The system comes down for census already when we do a census every year. Well, not every year, every time during the year. So the system's going to come down, census will be run, and then the upgrade will go in after that. So if you have concerns about census still happening, it is still happening. And then the next thing I want to show you is outside of Connect Carolina, but as part of these changes, the page that you see when you go to log into Connect Carolina, so when you go to connectcarolina.unc.edu, the page itself is going to change. So hopefully you noticed right off the bat in this screenshot that there's only one green button. So there is no more trying to figure out, like, did I hit the right green button? Why am I getting the Student Center instead of my employee view? The system will know who you are when you log in. So when you click that green button, it will take you to the Onion sign-in page like you see now. You'll have to sign in before you get to Connect Carolina. But this just gives a more simplified look. The system's doing the work of figuring out who you are and then showing the information that you need when you get in there. There are still some links on those pages. So if you work with students or get questions from, say, parents or proxies who are trying to pay student bills, there is still a separate button on there, and it's a blue button that they can bypass logging into Connect Carolina if they're going to just pay bills, and that will take them to TouchNet right from there. But students, faculty, staff, even proxies that are just going in to do things like view grades, will just use the login button on this page. All right, so moving along, we're going to talk about the home pages and then how we get around going forward. So I think this is pretty familiar to everybody. Right now, this is what we see when we log in as employees. We've got blue buttons over on the left side. Our favorites are there. Main menu, everybody's probably pretty familiar with main menu. You've got in the center of the screen, there's announcements and notifications about things that are happening in the system, and you see those regardless of what access you have in the system. So like you can see right now, there's finance information on there, and you may or may not have anything to do on the finance side, so that notification is really unimportant to you if you're not working on the finance side. Over on the right, you have the work list for your approvals, and then you've got some buttons or some links up at the top for your work list and adding to favorites, and then also signing out. So that's the current thing. Hopefully this was not a surprise picture to anybody that's listening. Everybody knows what that looks like. So coming soon, May 20th to be exact, this is what you're going to see when you log into the system. So you see it's more tile-based, and you've got a bunch of different pieces in there as well. So I'm just going to make that a little bit larger here so we can talk about that. The first thing you'll notice, hopefully, is that there's a separate tile for notifications. And those are all links. So you'll have messages on there, and then you can click those links and get more information about it. One of the really cool things is that going forward, you'll only see links that apply to you based on the access that you have in the system. So for example, if you only work on the student side, and we have an issue with ePARS on the HR side, or with ePro on the finance side, you won't see those messages. You'll only see messages that are related to you as a student admin user. You'll also see messages that are for all employees. Or if there are messages for everybody across campus, you know, like what's here where it says new look, everybody needs to know that they're getting a new look. So that would be something that everybody would see. Down in the bottom right, you'll see a little more graphic announcement down there. So those messages right now are going to be messages that everybody at the university needs to see. So something like a full system outage is coming, or you know, something that affects all of everybody, regardless of what your role is at the university. If you're student, if you're faculty, if you're staff, you need to see that. And that's just to draw your eye there. So you should know going forward that the notification box and also the announcements box are going to have information that you need when you're on there. I mentioned the work list, which is your approvals, that was over on the right in the current system. That has its own tile. And then you see some other tiles on here as well. We're going to come back and talk about getting around in the system. But for now, I want to talk to you about the home pages themselves. So right now, what the page that I'm showing you is the Admin WorkCenter homepage. So if you have access to do your job in Connect Carolina, so whether it's the student side, HR, or finance, you do your work in Connect Carolina, you'll have this Admin WorkCenter homepage. And when you log in on Monday, May 20th, this is the first page that you will see. But I know that there are people out there that are like, but wait a minute, how do I get to my paycheck? Because ultimately that's why we all work, is so we can get paychecks. At the top on that navy blue header there's a white arrow. And when you click on that, it gives you a drop down of the other pages that you have access to, of the other home pages. So talking about those, sort of at a high level, faculty portal. So if you are a faculty member at the university, that is the first page you will see when you log in on May 20th. That is only faculty. The faculty portal has been live for about a year now. So that's not really changing for faculty. I skipped the Admin WorkCenter because I've already talked about that. There's also a student homepage. This is important because if you are currently or ever were a student at Carolina, even if you've just taken one class at Carolina, you will have access to the student homepage. If you are like me and the last time you took a class at Carolina was a lot of years ago, it's not really going to be that helpful for you unless you need to do something like get your transcript. There's not a lot of information on there. It's really for active students. But we'll take a look at what that page looks like going forward. But just know that if you see that come up in your list, it's because you took a class. Or even I heard recently that if you've registered for a class but then didn't ever take it, you're still considered a student at the university, and so you will see that homepage as well. The next page is self-service, and we're going to go to this page in just a second, but this is where you find your pay stub. This is where you get information about the training that you've taken at the university, change your benefits, all that good stuff. And then the last one is something called My Page, and what that will do is allow you to pull tiles from different home pages to set your own home page for what you want to see. So if you want to have a page that just has your student admin work center and your the paycheck tile, you can pull those in. You still are going to have three tiles on there that we're not letting you remove, actually. So the notifications and the announcements tiles, we need to be able to communicate with you and let you know what's going on in the system. So those are there on that My Page, and then the help tile will also be on there. But then you can customize and pull in the tiles, and then you can set whichever one of those pages to be the page that you see every time you log in. And we'll have more instructions on how to do that coming soon. But basically, just know that you can do that. You can make those changes and get that set up. So switching between the home pages is as easy as clicking that triangle, clicking the page you want to go to, and then it brings it up. So this is the self-service page. Again, you can see that the notifications tab didn't change. All of the information that was in the notifications on the Admin WorkCenter is still in there on the self-service page. And again, that's because those messages are based on who you are in the system, what access you have in the system. So you're going to see that on all of those pages. You also see you can get to the benefits information and all that good stuff here. And then if you clicked, you could also see the student homepage. So again, white triangle, make a selection. This is what the student homepage looks like. For current students, it has a little more information on there. It has a couple more tiles. They can see their daily schedule, that sort of thing on there. But if you're an employee who was ever a student, this is what you'll see if you're not an active student. So switching back to the Admin WorkCenter homepage, we're going to switch now to talking about how to get around in the system. So 4 ways currently to get around. The first way is using those tiles. So this is number 1. You can click on the tile. It'll go to a page. It'll go to WorkCenter. Thank you. It even says it on the tile. I completely blanked there. So it'll take you to a WorkCenter, and then you can do your work in there. We're going to look specifically at the Student Admin WorkCenter, so I'm going to keep going with ways right now. The next 3 ways, so ways 2 through 4, involve this little compass in the top right. What you'll do is you'll click on the compass, and it opens what's called a nav bar. So this gives you some options here. The second way is with your favorites. So I want to stop here real quick and just give you a little tip in case you haven't already heard this, but all of your favorites that you currently have saved and any that you save now before the system outage will carry over to the new look. So you'll have those on Monday, May 20th. So if you're at all concerned about not being able to get to the pages that you use frequently, or even pages that you use infrequently, you go there twice a semester or something like that, go ahead and save them as favorites now. It'll make it a lot easier when you're getting around in the system starting on May 20th. And if you don't know how to save favorites now, this gives you a quick little look at it. On that top, on the blue bar, you click Add to Favorites. When you're on a page, you'll get this pop-up window that says Add to Shortcuts. You can type in the name of the page as you want it to say, and then you click Save, and it will transfer over. So going back, that was my favorites. The third way is this icon called the Navigator. So you may be wondering what happened to Main Menu. It's not there anymore. It's not where it's supposed to be. So Main Menu has been replaced by the Navigator. And the Navigator works a little bit differently than Main Menu did. So when you click on the icon that says Navigator, it opens to the right. So there's no more fanning across the screen. But the good news is when you click on the next option here, if you notice at the top, right here where the arrow is, your breadcrumbs will show where you've clicked. So you're opening folders when you're in the Navigator. So you'll click one, and then it opens it opens a folder, and then you open that folder, and the breadcrumbs show up at the top. So a couple of things to mention here. You cannot sort the Navigator options. So they are in the order that they come to us from PeopleSoft. So it's not as easy to use as main menu was, where you could alphabetize them and know. It also is a little bit trickier because if you're anything like I was, using the main menu, I'd know that, you know, I go about a third of the way down and then I, you know, go over a little bit and go up and come back down. You're not going to have that same sort of orientation on the page because it does just keep opening on top of itself when you go from one page or one folder to the next. But you do have the breadcrumbs there. One other thing to mention, if you're having an issue and you have to submit a help request for that issue, I know a lot of times the folks at the help desk will tell you to take a screenshot and make sure to include the breadcrumbs. When you're on pages in the new system, the breadcrumbs don't show. But if you've gotten there to that page from the navigator, you can actually just click the compass, which will open the navigator, and take your screenshot so that it shows the path that you used to get there, which will be helpful to be able to help resolve your issue and know exactly how you got there. But again, that path, those breadcrumbs will only show if you've used the navigator to get to a page. So moving on, the fourth way, so the last way is recent places. So the system stores the last few pages that you've been to using the navigator. So again, that's specific to if you've used the navigator to get somewhere and then you leave the page and you need to go back, you can use recent places to do that. So that's, again, those are sort of order of importance of how you should use them. So WorkCenter, using the tiles would be the first option, favorites, navigator, and then recent places to get to wherever you were using the navigator. So are there any questions so far about home pages or getting around, anything like that? Nope. All right. So we'll keep moving on. And we're going to talk a little bit about using the self-service homepage because there are some changes that are coming as part of this that we also want to cover. So the first one is this personal information tile that you see here. Right now, if you need to update your address or your phone number or your email address, you can do that going to directory.unc.edu, or you can do that from a link in Connect Carolina. But they both go out to a place that's outside of Connect Carolina. On May 20th, when you go to update your information, you'll only be able to do that in Connect Carolina. So you would do that by using this personal information tile. When you click on the tile, it's going to take you to something that looks like the WorkCenter. So you'll see your name and your preferred name listed there. And then if you needed to say change your address, you could click on it. The address screen would open up. You could make the changes there. Notice that there's this little blue tab here with two lines. You'll be able to collapse that. If you need more space on the screen, you can click that, and what it will do is close the WorkCenter options to the left. You'll still have the tab to get it back when you need it, but that just allows you to get a little more real estate on the screen as well. And then if you need to go back to the home page, so you have a couple of options actually. On this page, if you see up in the top left, it says self-service with a back arrow. So you could click that, or wherever you are in the system, if you need to get back to a home page, you can just click home and it'll go back to the home page for you. So the second tile we're going to talk about is the My Pay and Taxes. So this will allow you to see your pay stubs. So right now, you know, you go blue button self-service, you click that link and then view paycheck, and it opens up the paycheck page. When you click this tile, it's going to open up the view paycheck page right away. And you'll be able to see all of your paychecks there at the university. And again, this has the sort of work list on the side. So if you need to do something else while you're in here, maybe change your direct deposit information or look at your W-2, change information on your W-4, your NC-4, you can do that right here. When you click those, they'll open to the right and you can do that. And again, there's that tab again, so you can collapse it if you need to. So going back to the self-service homepage, the last thing I want to talk about on here is the help tile. So you will see the help tile, as I mentioned, on all of the home pages, and the information that you see when you click that help tile will be the same no matter which homepage you go from. And the help page that you see, the boxes on the help page, will be based on what security you have in the system, so what access you have in the system. So assuming that you are somebody that works in the system on the student admin side, you will have the student admin help tile, which is right over here. You'll also have an admin help tile, and then there are some specific to employees at the university, or just anybody that logs in, you know, if it's parents or students or that sort of thing. One thing you'll notice here on this one, there is no student help on here. And that's because I am not currently a student at the university. I am not an active student. So even though I can see the student homepage, because I'm not an active student, the help doesn't apply to me. So only active students see a student help tile. One other thing I want to point out on that student admin help tile is there are some pages that we are developing now on CC Info. And again, that's ccinfo.unc.edu. So we are working on getting those pages ready so that they are ready to go on May 20th. That'll have information specific to student services managers, advisors, departmental registrars, that sort of thing. But just know that that information is coming. All right, any questions yet? No? All right, it's a lot of information to absorb there. It looks like big changes because the way you get around is so different. So I know that it's a little bit of information overload. So as a reminder, just real quick, we are recording this webinar, so you'll be able to go back and listen, or if you need help falling asleep at night, you can do that too. Just listen to me talk. All right, so let's take a look at the student admin pages specifically. So I'm back on this Admin WorkCenter homepage, and if you click that Student Admin WorkCenter tile, it takes you to the Student Admin WorkCenter. So right off the bat, there's not a whole lot there. If you don't currently use the Student Admin WorkCenter, we'd like to ask you to give it a try on May 20th, and let us know, you know, if you can't find what you need, let us know that, or if it does work a lot better for you, let us know that as well. So the first one that we're going to look at is clicking on the bio demo folder, and unlike the current WorkCenter, all of the folders start out collapsed, and when you click on them, then they expand to show you the pages underneath them. And then you would click on, in this case, the Student Services, the Student Center, and it's going to open on the right side of the screen, like you see here. If you're familiar with the Student Center currently, you'll notice that this mostly looks like the current Student Center. It's a little more spread out though. The fields that are on there are a little bit larger. You'll notice that I have a scroll bar on the far right because not all of the information is on here. So you can scroll down and see that. But the Student Center as a whole works the same way it does now. So you have the same tabs that you have across the top right now. The same links are there and all that sort of stuff. One disclaimer about the Student Center that you may notice is that some of the formatting in the tabs and on the Student Center may look a little bit wonky, for lack of a better word. Some of the text is we're seeing is a little too close together, and it just looks like it's not the way it's supposed to be. Part of that is because we've had to customize the Student Center to make it fit UNC's needs. And we are actually going to a different look for student pages altogether in later this summer. And so the Student Center in its current iteration will be going away. And so when we had those formatting issues, so that we could get the rest of the project rolled out and the rest of the new look rolled out, we're not going to spend time fixing something that's going away in a couple of months. So just know it doesn't affect the functionality at all. It just looks a little weird. But that's specific to the Student Center. Your other pages won't be like that. So speaking of those other pages, so in your WorkCenter, you can just click on the next folder that you need. So I'm going to click on student records. It's going to open the links that are below student records, and then click on enrollment summary, and it brings up the enrollment summary page, the search page right there. Again, you see I didn't have to go back anywhere. I didn't have to use the navigator. You can do everything from the WorkCenter. And then when you type in a PID and get to the enrollment summary page, this is what it looks like. So again, it's not vastly different from what you see now. It's just that it's a little more spread out. The fields are a little bit bigger. The colors are a little bit different. The tabs are green instead of the white and gray that are there now. But the pages all work the same. All right, so that's all I have. Anybody have any questions about those student pages before we wrap it up here at the end? Nothing's coming in? No? All right, then I'm going to keep plowing through. So a couple of things I want to talk about. The change in a nutshell. The first thing is that all changes, even good changes, take getting used to. I know that for me, Facebook just updated on my phone, and it's such a minor change, but it completely threw me off the first time. And I was like, what? Why did they do this? But that was yesterday and now today, and it's fine. But it does take getting used to, even if it's a good change. And we really think that what's coming for Connect Carolina are good changes. The other thing is that it's probably going to feel like a big change because the navigation is changing. So just make sure that starting on May 20th, that you allow yourself a little more time to get around in the system and get used to it. Because it does feel like a big change. But the third thing is, and this is really the important part, is that, once you're past those first few pages, once you get past the home pages and learn how to navigate, the pages that you use to do your work are going to be the same. They're going to work the same way they do today. And so it's not, the system isn't a real big change. And so just wrapping up and summarizing what we talked about, we can't say this enough, but the new look is coming Monday, May 20th, which means the system will be down. Connect Carolina will be completely down starting at 5 o'clock on Friday, May 17th. You'll have multiple home pages to choose from depending on who you are at the university. You'll have 4 different ways to move around in Connect Carolina. So you'll have the tiles, the favorites, the navigator, and then the recent places. And after you get past the home pages, the system works the same way it does today. We really can't stress that piece enough either. The system really, we're just going from Connect Carolina to Connect Carolina. It's not a huge change in the functionality. So what you do today is what you'll do starting on May 20th. And that's it. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
We do.
All right.
Would you repeat where the recorded version of this presentation will be posted?
Absolutely. Look, that's even a question I can answer. So it will be posted on ccinfo.unc.edu. And there are we have some pages specific to the Connect Carolina Makeover. But when you get to ccinfo.unc.edu, you should be able to find the recorded version.
I also just noticed there was a couple participants today who are in the HR area.
Okay.
And in case you missed the webinar on HR on Tuesday, that should be posted in the next couple hours.
It's already posted.
Oh, it's posted.
Yep. Okay. I saw that before we started started. So the HR webinar is posted, and that is also on ccinfo.unc.edu. And actually, I'm going to switch to the next slide here just so that you can see that the link there for getting to CC Info. And if you happen to also work on the finance side, there is a finance webinar on Monday at 3 o'clock. And if you didn't already get that notification, if you go to CC Info, you'll be able to get to that webinar. So if you have questions about the finance piece of it as well, I will warn you, the content's going to be mostly the same. It's just that we'll be focusing on the finance pages instead of the student admin pages. So if you're time strapped and you work on finance as well, you may just want to hold out and watch the recording where you can skip through the first half of the webinar.
So when will the new look of the Student Center go live?
That is coming later in the summer. I do not believe an exact date has been set. Is that correct?
There's no exact date yet. We're talking to the student offices right now. The feedback we've gotten so far from orientation and the registrar's office is that it would be really great if we waited until right before the fall term starts so that we get past that really stressful time for students when they're trying to add those last classes before fall term starts. So we'll be sending out some dates to all the offices to make sure which dates work best for everyone, but it will probably be right before the fall term starts.
Great.
So no new questions have come in. Do you want to give it another minute or so, or?
I think we can.
Okay.
Nothing in that
Nope.
the Q&A box. We found the random Q&A box, which was separate from the chat box the other day. People had entered questions in there. So anything else? No?
Yeah, but if they have questions that pop up later, CC,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So if you think of something as soon as we say goodbye, which is what always happens to me, you can definitely email us at cc_communications@unc.edu, and we'll get your question answered. We have those pages on CC Info as well. Again, that's ccinfo.unc.edu. And to go specifically to the pages about the makeover, you would enter /connectcarolina-makeover. And that'll take you directly to those pages. Or you can even Google #CC Makeover, and that should take you to the pages as well. That was the first Google search, that the first page that came up when we Google searched it a couple of weeks ago. But we'll have information on there. We will have more information coming on things like how to personalize your home page, how to set your home page to be different than the one you see when you first log in.
How to save your favorites.
How to save your favorites, how to see your paycheck. We've got a lot of information that's coming. We just wanted to give everyone a heads up and let you see it and kind of get the feel for what it's going to look like going forward. And then, of course, if you have any issues with the system or anything now or once it goes live, definitely contact one of the service desks at help.unc.edu or at 962-HELP. No more questions? All right. Well, thanks for joining, everybody. We are looking forward to these changes that are coming, and we'll be doing this again in the late summer before the student pages go live to give you a look at those as well, so that you've got some advance notice on there. So thanks, everyone, and have a great day.